Hi everyone, welcome and welcome back to Gavin Reads It All, and welcome to episode 2 of my Our Fantasy Bingo 2025 challenge series. This is a series where I am tackling the Our Fantasy Bingo board for the very first time, and I am going to be doing it line by line, and I'm not allowed to move on to the next line until I've completed the line before it. I don't know why I can't just do things normally, but that is the little challenge that I've set myself. And a couple of months ago, I posted episode 1, so if you've not yet checked out episode 1, I will link it down below. Not that there's any continuity or anything. You don't really need to watch episode 1 to watch this one. I mean, you could actually watch it in any order. It's absolutely fine, but it's there as an option in case you missed it. But in the first episode, I did complete the first line of the Our Fantasy Bingo board, and that meant that I unlocked the second line. So I have the second line ready to tackle. And as soon as I've read all 5 books that will fulfill all of these prompts, then I will unlock the third row. Very excited to continue on with the series. I love fantasy so much, and I seem to like it in little bite-sized chunks, so doing the Our Fantasy Bingo challenge has been really helpful so far, actually. So grab yourself a hot drink, like the video if you enjoy, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get into what I want to read for episode 2. So the second line for Our Fantasy Bingo, the first prompt is impossible places, and that is to read a book pretty much set in an impossible place. So a place that's kind of like a fantasy world that we could never get to from the real world, essentially. And for this prompt, and I do hope it fits, there might be some questionable options if I'm not 100% sure if something will actually fit a prompt. But I do think the Hollow Places by Kingfisher should count for it. I will let you know what all these books are about in the spoiler-free section, so I will have everything timestamped below. But I do love me some Kingfisher. I've read a few now. I literally just read A House of Good Bones a few days ago, and I really enjoyed it. So I have high hopes that I will enjoy another Kingfisher book. So the next prompt is to read a book in parts. So that is essentially a book that is split into parts, into acts. Maybe it's split into days, years, things like that. And I have the perfect book for that. I have Discovery by J.A.J. Minton, and this is the first book in the Strange Eons series. J.A.J. Minton actually do run a YouTube channel called Token Stories, so I will leave them linked down below. But I was doing a live show with Brian from BellTube, and I mentioned that I wanted to read this, and the lovely John, one of the J's in J.A.J. Minton, I was in the live chat, and he lovingly said that he would send me a signed copy, and that he did. So thank you so much, John, and Jacob, and Amy as well for signing this, and the amazing bookmark too. So very excited to get to this. So the next prompt is Gods and Pantheons, and that is to read a book that features divine beings. And I have picked Wildseed by Octavia A. Butler. This will be the second Octavia A. Butler book that I've read. The other book was Kindred, and I freaking love that book. I gave it 5 stars, so I have high hopes for Wildseed. This is also the first book in the Patternist series, so if I enjoyed this one, I would love to see if I would continue with the series. The next prompt is last in a series, and I have Wrath by John Gwynne. This is the final book in the Faithful and the Fallen series, and I loved the first 3. The books, in my opinion, got better and better. So with the 4th and final book in that series, I have really high hopes for it, and I don't know if I'm going to be destroyed or not. I'm going to try and taper my expectations and not get my hopes up too high, because sometimes that can ruin an experience for me. But I am very, very excited to get to John Gwynne. And I've been saying this about every book so far on my TBR. I'm just excited to get to them. Well, it's true. And then the final prompt for this video in online too is to read a book club or read along book. And not just any book club or read along. It has to be a book that was read for an Our Fantasy book club or an Our Fantasy read along. And there is a very helpful list on Reddit, and I had to scour through the Google Sheets that had all the books listed. And I did find one that I own and really wanted to read, and that is The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula Guin. This will be my very first time reading this. I have read the Earthsea books, or at least the first 3, and I wasn't 100% taken by them. But in my defense, I read them when I don't think I was ready to read that level of fantasy. I feel like if I tried them again, I would probably enjoy them more. And there was nothing wrong with Ursula Guin's writing. It was probably me. It was just me. So because this was on the Google Sheets, it means that I can include this for this prompt. Now, the rules I have set myself means that I can read these in any order, so it might not be in exactly the line, but as long as it's on the line, it's fine. I just can't move on to line 3 until I've completed line 2. So I don't know what I'm going to start with just yet. I still have some time to decide, but I genuinely think this is one sexy TBR. So I hope you're as excited to hear my thoughts on these as I am to reading them. I am at the minute a little bit swamped with my Blogs of Halloween 2025 event, so I will be dipping in and out of these books as much as I possibly can over the next week or so. So wish me all the luck. I'm gonna need it. And hopefully these books keep the breakdown at bay. It's been a couple of months since I filmed the introduction to this video. I filmed the introduction in September, it is now November. And that's partly because I started reading Wrath by John Gwynne. And I wanted this to be the first book of this video because, you know, this is the fourth and final book in The Faithful and the Fallen. And I really enjoyed the first three books in the series. And I started this and I was like, my head's not in this. My heart's not in this. Why is this? And I realized it was a me problem. It wasn't the book, it was me. And I wasn't really in the epic fantasy mood. So I ended up putting this down because I didn't want to force myself to continue reading it and start hating my life and then hate the series. So I put it down and then accidentally blinked and it is now November. So we got back on it and I started back from the beginning of this one. I think I got about 50 pages in the first time. I was like, I'm just not feeling this. I'm not feeling this. But now I am 293 pages in and I am really enjoying it. It really was the case of I just wasn't in an epic fantasy mood when I started filming this video. And I really didn't want my reads to suffer because of that and force a video out. So I decided to hold fire on Reddit Fantasy Bingo episode 2, even though it's taking way too long to do as well. And I really did want to do it sooner so that episode 3, 4, and 5 is not just going to be like one after the other. I really did want to space them out. But you know what? I have to go with the flow. I have to go with my gut. And my gut was telling me, don't ruin this series for yourself, Gav. You were enjoying it. Don't ruin it now. And yeah, I'm 292 pages in now. And I am, again, like really enjoying it. And it's really hard to, you know, like talk about a final book in a series and not give spoilers and stuff. So will be spoiler free. I'm not going to spoil anything, I promise. So I will tell you about like the themes and the elements of the story of like The Faithful and the Fallen that I loved. The Faithful and the Fallen, the series, it does follow a vast array of characters. We do have different point of view characters. Pretty much every chapter it goes back and forth. And that's an element of the story that I've been enjoying since the first book, because you do really get a whole overview of this world. So this series is set in the Banished Lands and it feels like a place that could have existed. And it feels as well like a fantasy story that you might have read before, because it has all of those hallmarks of epic fantasy. We have a prophecy and we have a main character called Corbin who is entangled in this prophecy, and there are adventures to be had. There are events that happen in the first book that sets things in motion, that now we're at the fourth book and things have just been turned completely on their head. In the third book, Ruin, there was some things that, you know, like some twists and turns that I didn't see coming, which is great for a fantasy series that is really hard to describe in terms of like what it's actually about, or at least to describe it in a way that doesn't sound like something else. You know, like we have, you know, the prophecy, we have wars that have happened in the past and we're kind of trying to prevent one from happening in the future. We have vast distant lands and characters, you know, transporting themselves through them. So it's really hard for me to like tell you why I've enjoyed the series without it sounding so like, I don't know, like generic, I guess. But like, this is far from generic. Like, this isn't a bad negative review on the series or anything. I just feel like it's such a comfort in a way, because it is so quintessentially an epic fantasy. And I think because it does utilize a lot of those themes and plot points that you will have read before, it does offer comfort in that regard. This is not a cozy fantasy, but it's a fantasy that kind of makes me feel a little bit cozy at times. And that's so weird to say as well, considering there were some things that happened in Ruin. And, you know, there have been some tragic things happening in the first two books as well. That, again, it does feel a little bit strange for me to say, but no, it's something that just felt like a bit of a comfort for me this year. So yeah, read and loved Malice and Valor, Ruin. I've loved the books. This is the kind of series as well, I think, as a whole, it's really, really strong. I've really enjoyed the entire story from the first book to the fourth book. But I will say, like, maybe individually, like each book themselves on their own, like standing alone, I couldn't quite say whether or not they would be like a favorite or anything, but together it just works and it's so good. It's a little bit like when I read The Raven Boys. I love the series as a whole, but I didn't really fully like, I mean, there were some books in that series that I think I might have preferred over the other, but it was hard to really rank them individually because of how interconnected they were. And it felt like one story, and I just love the series in general. But not a single book in that series was like a 5-star, but it was a 5-star reading experience. I would probably say like The Faithful and the Fallen is like a 5-star reading experience, but without any of the books, for me personally, reaching 5 stars. Like, it gets close, but each one doesn't really like kind of get there. I'm really hoping this one does turn the tide though. The best book that I read so far was Ruin. I've given all of the books, I think, about 3.5 to 4 stars. They've all been individually around that area, but the series itself is like a 4.5 to a 5-star. It's just so good all together. So what I've been loving about Wrath so far, because I've just been gassing about the series in general, but what I've been loving about this so far is that there were some things that happened in Rowan, as I mentioned, that I really did want some resolution for, and I'm glad that we didn't really like take too long to get to some of the questions that I had on my mind. I'm loving the fact that we still have like a lot of core characters that I really do root for. I love Gar, I love Veritas, I love Corbin and his family. One thing that I think John Gwynne does amazing at is portraying familial relationships and the bond and the strength of family. It's so beautiful to read about. It's so beautiful to witness. And I do currently have like my notes and things on the screen there, which I can't show you because spoilers. But just what I did, because I used to be part of a read along for the series, and I have a Google document with all of the like things that I love about the story and quotes and things like that. So I have all of that written down in my Google documents. And yeah, it's just been quite nice to read. Definitely do feel in the mood for it now. I feel like that epic fantasy mood has come back. I'm so glad I waited. I do think though, because this is over 600 pages long, so I have about, 350, 400 pages to go. I do think I can get this finished tomorrow. It is currently a Sunday. I'm currently reading a library book that I want to get finished today. So I am going to read that first and I'm going to come back to this one. I don't want to overwhelm myself too much, but honestly, it feels great to be able to finish a series as well. It's been a while since I finished a series. And I do know John Gwynne has other books as well. There's the A Time of Blood, Time of Dread series as well, which I do own. I have those, so I will definitely get to those potentially in 2026. And then the Blood Sworn Saga, the other series, The Hunger of the Gods, I think it's called. I also have those as well. John Gwynne, I'm just absolutely adoring his writing. So yeah, that was probably like a lot of vague waffle. I imagine when I get to the rest of these books here, it will be easier to talk about. It's just hard to talk about a fourth book in a series and a final book in a series without spoilers. But absolutely perfect for the last book in a series prompt for Reddit Fantasy Bingo. Gotta love me some Truth and Courage. I am so sad that I've had to take all my Halloween decorations down now, and I'll be putting up the Christmas decorations at some point, but it only felt like yesterday I put all the Halloween decorations up in here, and like you've probably seen it for like one clip, the introduction, and that was it. So hey, time is flying. Just like time has flown on reading Wrath in this series in general. Like I've spent this entire year reading The Faithful and the Fallen, essentially. I started the first book in January. It is now November and I finished this yesterday. And I thought it was great. Like what a great ending. So bittersweet as well. But like there's so much, like I can walk away from the series feeling satisfied by how it went. And I don't really like feel the, urgent need to read A Time of Blood like the next series, because I feel like this, wrap things up pretty beautifully. And I think the next series is like 100 years later or something like that. I'm not actually 100% sure, but like I feel really satisfied by this ending. And yeah, I'm kind of sad that it's over, honestly. I thought because there's a lot of fighting in this, so I did think that by the time we get to the end, it's been so incredibly exciting. The good versus evil theme just came to such a dramatic and exciting climax. Some things I wasn't quite expecting in the trajectory of the fighting and the different players that come into play in that whole section as well. With a series like this, I do think it's most importantly a character study and how John Gwynne presents these characters to us, how he makes them feel so real and believable despite the fantasy setting. And John Gwynne just like knocked it out of the park, honestly. Like he's absolutely fantastic as an author. And while I would say like this is mostly maybe going to be like a 4 to a 4.5 star. This might be my favorite in the series, and that is mainly because of all of the excitement that I had while reading it. I don't know, I still stand by the fact that I think the series as a whole is like potentially like a 5 star without any of the singular books being a 5 star to me personally. But the reading experience itself was a 5 star reading experience, which I don't know if anyone fully understands like where I'm coming from with that. But it was like just such a great finale. As much as I love this prompt for our fantasy bingo, this is like the hardest book to talk about. What else can I say? Just, yeah, a lot of things that I feel inspired by with the morals of the characters, how they fight for freedom, and how that really speaks to me in the present day and this current political landscape as well. To see people really fight for what they stand for and to fight for their freedom and to want to help their fellow man. It's just so wonderful in that regard. And one of the reasons why I love fantasy is how it can really speak to the real life world and the politics of today. A lot of it can inspire hope and hope for change. So yeah, I did think John Gwynne did a brilliant job of that. Whether he did that intentionally or not, I do think this really speaks to me in today's climate. Can't believe it took me so long to read the series as well, because I know this is a bit of a booktube darling. A few of my friends really do love this series. So I feel so great and happy and honoured that I finally managed to finish this. And yeah, I can't wait to get to the next ones. And now I really want to get like these, like there's Broken Binding editions, right? But they came out years ago. And that was before I started to get Broken Binding. I only started getting Broken Binding, I think, a year and a half to 2 years ago now. And I have the Time of Dread, Blood, Courage series from Broken Binding. I really want Broken Binding to re-release The Faithful and the Fallen. Like, please, 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 please. I really want the series now. I can imagine this is going to be one that on a reread, I want to be able to really focus on the characters that I loved and like kind of knowing how the series goes. I can look at all the foreshadowing beforehand too. So I think that's like another really great thing about the series is that I think there's so much rereadability and you will probably pick up on some things that you missed the first time. I definitely feel like I probably did miss a few things in this, but I thought it was great. Like it was so good. Like I'm feeling a little bit sad, but like really, really happy as well at the same time. I feel like so achieved. I always feel such a huge sense of achievement when I finish a series. And yeah, I love John Gwynne. What can I say? I love him. So I do have reading sprints later today on Patreon, and I still haven't quite decided what I want to read next from my TBR. It could be anything. Honestly, I'm in the mood for all 4 of the rest of the books I need to read for this episode. I'm genuinely in the mood for all 4 of them. So it really is a toss-up. Maybe I can get my patrons to vote and see what I end up reading next. I mean, I have Wild Seed like literally just like right here. I could just do that. I could just do Wild Seed, just pull it off the shelf. But you will see in literally just a minute exactly what I picked to read right after this. It actually is the middle of the day right now, but because it is so dark outside, so many rain clouds, and the clocks have gone back, and it seems so dark. It is literally 1 p.m. and it's so dark. I have pretty much all of my lamps on in the house, and I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. But yesterday I did do Patreon reading sprints, and I got 70 pages into Wild Seed, and that's not like the best start for me. I thought I would be at least page 100, but we're a chatty bunch. We are a chatty bunch. And I was also talking with the person who's helping me with my current spreadsheet, my book spreadsheet. And we had some troubleshooting to go through. So that did take me away from reading Wild Seed. But, 70 pages is not too bad. And because I have pretty much the whole day ahead of me now, I can just sit down and finish this today. That's like my goal. That's my plan. But yeah, my relationship with Octavia Butler is I've read Kindred, and that was one of my favorite books of 2024. I gave it 5 stars. I loved it. And Wild Seed is the first book in the Patna series. And I had no idea that this existed before I did my research for our fantasy bingo. And this is very interesting so far. So we follow Doro. He's some kind of like ancient spirit / god / like deity kind of thing. And there are like villagers that worship Doro, and he offers like protection and stuff like that. But then one day, Doro was walking to a village and sees that the village has been decimated and they have been taken for slaves, or they have been spread across the world, or they have been slaughtered, or all these things that, the people who, worshipped and looked up to Doro have like essentially been like decimated. And so Doro is now like on this like mission to find his people. And he comes across a woman called Anyanwu. And she is also very interesting too, because she's not quite a human. Like, she can change her form, she can change her shape in appearance and stuff. And Doro has never met anyone like her before. So that is like incredibly, I don't know why I'm not holding this up. Doro is very fascinated by her, and he's asking her to join him on his journey. And yeah, I guess that's kind of like the initial premise of this. But I love what Octavia Butler is exploring at the very start of this. So we do have, Doro being like this entity, this deity that people look up to. But there's so much like inner reflection with Doro, and the narration says they gave him their loyalty, their obedience, and he protected them. He had failed. And that failure is something that I can really feel through the character of Doro as they are, traversing and going through the world, trying to find their people and, all of that. I really do feel that sense of failure. It's really propelling the plot forward, which I thought I would struggle a little bit following along, because apparently this book does spread across like generations, and it has like a really high concept kind of premise. So usually I do struggle with things like that, but this seems like pretty okay so far, like in the first 70 pages to follow along with. There's been like a lot of conversations between Doro and Anyanwu, and these kind of conversations have been like incredibly fascinating to read. I mean, they me pretty much straight away. And it's just so odd. Like, it's kind of like bizarre, some of the things that they talk about, or like it feels like there's a lot of fate involved, and stuff like that really does. I don't know, like I question the tangible reasons behind anyone meeting by chance, by fate. Like, what is it that's driving that forward? But I do love the fact that Doro, the name means the east, the direction from which the sun comes, and Anyanwu, her name means the sun. So Doro being, the east, aka where the sun, comes up, and Anyanwu, her name means the sun. There's some like things about this that I feel like you really do feel like the fatedness of these characters meeting. And Anyanwu is such a cool like character to follow, like the things that she has to have gone through up to this point. I love the fact that she was part of this village that was scared of her. She had found it difficult to be a good wife in her most recent years, because the way a woman must bow her head and be subject to her husband, it was better to be as she was, a priestess who spoke with the voice of a god and was feared and obeyed. Like, she has like a lot of power, and you know what, she isn't kind of scared of that. And she knows like when to kind of rein it in and when to unleash it. It was no new thing for her to face larger people and either bend them to her will with words or beat them into submission physically. Like, how badass does that sound? Like, it sounds so good. Oh, and if you want to know what seed means, so the title is like Wild Seed, and I was like, oh, what does like seed mean? And all of this is like pretty much like the first couple of chapters. I don't think any of what I'm talking about is like a spoiler or anything. It's just like kind of giving context to the story and giving you a little bit more information so that hopefully you can like understand the world as you are thrust into it. What is seed? She asked. And Doro says, people too valuable to be casually killed. There was another actual, like, better definition of it that was mentioned. Oh, here we go. Wild seed. Carrier of a bloodline I believed was lost. And I think of another that I did not know existed. So yeah, it really does mean, like, valuable people, I guess. So that's really, like, cool to explore too. White people are weird in this as well. And one you thanked the white man in her own language and saw that he was looking at her breasts. She found herself wondering obscurely whether the hair between his legs was as yellow as that on his head. She laughed aloud at herself, and the young man, unknowing, watched her breasts jiggle. Enough of that. So yeah, like, white people are weird in this, not surprised. But I am loving the conversations that the characters have. It will be hard to, like, keep talking about the conversations that they're having without just like kind of just repeating what they're saying. But deeply fascinating. Very excited to see like where it's going to go, honestly. Like it feels like we've already pretty much had this initial premise of Doro trying to find the people that he vowed to have protected, and Anyanwu accompanying him. And yeah, it just like, I'm like, okay, that's like 70 pages in. I'm excited to see like what actually transpires after that. So I'm going to crack on. It's actually not that big a book. It's not even 300 pages. So I don't really have that long to read. I will most likely finish this tonight. I'm going to see if I can get my dressing gown off of the cats. So I bought a new dressing gown a couple of days ago. It was like one of the one-piece Udi dressing gowns that I bought from Udi. And it came about 3 days ago and I've worn it once. I've worn it once and it's been laid out on my bed and the cats have been taking turns lying on it. And Toby was currently lying on it now. Otherwise I would have brought it down and worn it for this update because I'm a little bit nippy. I could put the heating on, but I know there's a perfectly good dressing gown upstairs that will keep me warm. But I'm like, maybe I should just buy a new dressing gown because that one is obviously not mine anymore. That one's obviously not mine anymore, so I'm a little bit gutted about that. But yeah, maybe continuing Wild Seed will help warm me up and I will just lounge. I'll lounge around today. I'll be a lady of leisure. Hey, Doboo. You look so funny. Hey, Doboo. Hey, Ash. Doboo. What are you doing? Don't jump. Don't jump. It was bloody bonfire night yesterday, which meant there was so many fireworks going off. And I did finish Wild Seed before all of the carnage started to happen. But oh my gosh, like, oh, I love me a good firework every now and then, but there was just way too many and they were so close. It was so loud. I ended up watching the first 2 episodes of It, Welcome to Derry, and it was good. Like, I really enjoyed those episodes. The end of the first episode, wild. Absolutely wild. Was not expecting that. I wasn't even expecting what happened at the freaking start of the episode as well. Good grief, it was very strange. And it was like really good. I had to crank up the volume though to drown out the fireworks. But yeah, they were so close. And I did training this morning and I am now back home. Made myself a coffee, ready to quickly review the rest of Wild Seed. I don't think I have too much more to elaborate on that I've already mentioned. I will say, like, as my intrigue went up as the book went on, my kind of, I wouldn't say I loved the characters, but I did love following them. And I love to see into their perspectives because they were just like so widely different and so widely different to anything I've read before. But like the more that I read on, I was kind of getting less and less excited about the characters themselves. There was like some frustrating decisions that were being made and not enough kind of like questions being asked about like why certain things are happening. And I was like following along and it, you know, it still kept the pace up. And I love Octavia Butler's writing style so much because I don't need to like characters for me to like a story still. But yeah, Octavia did a phenomenal job at still portraying them in a way that I was like, okay, I don't like them, but I still want to read about them, you know? And the strange thing is though, I probably would read the next book, but it's not really the kind of series that I'm typically into because it's not a really typical kind of fantasy series that I've ever read before. I'm always open for more Octavia Butler recommendations also. If you have any more, please let me know. I'm going to see if I can maybe try and read like everything that they've ever done because I'm telling you, Kindred was just, oh, so phenomenal, so good. And I feel like because I loved Kindred so much, it did kind of affect this one a little bit because I had those expectations and it didn't quite meet them. I would give this like a 3.5 star. I mean, 5 star for the writing, but I think overall 3.5. I was vaguely entertained for a good majority of this, but this does thrive on character and yeah. Literally nothing else to say. I'm so boring. I'm so sorry. Someone mentioned that Anyanwu is a little bit like the Animorphs, and ever since someone mentioned that, it's all I can think about. And I read all of the Animorphs books a couple of years ago. I've got a 3-4 hour vlog of me reading the original Animorphs books. So let me tell you, as soon as someone mentioned that reference, I was like, oh my god, I totally get it. I totally get it. But I feel so accomplished. That is now 2 books. We are like well on our way for this next part of our fantasy bingo. When I tell you, I feel so behind on it. I know there's still so many more months of our fantasy bingo, but I feel so behind because in total, I've only completed 7 prompts. And actually, let's go on my story graph. I've got a link to my story graph down below, but there is the challenge on story graph. So we have here the Our Fantasy Bingo challenge, and 25% I'll add that I've just finished Wild Seed for my Gods and Pantheons prompt. Finished the 5th. Honestly, I feel like such an old person when I use phones because I'm like touching things like one thing at a time. Okay, 29%. 29% done now. But this has been a challenge that's been going since April. It is now November. It is now November and I feel so behind. I know I shouldn't be, but I do. 29% done so far. I need to pick up the pace now, I think.
As long as I can, for the ones that I had to defend. I've been strong every day of my life. If she wants, death could take me this time. This world is a wasteland where nothing can grow. I used to have strength, but I ran out of hope. I know it's my fault that I'm here all alone. This world is a wasteland. Please let me go, 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 go. If I could just lay my head down and rest. If there was nothing to fight or protect, maybe then I could finally be free. Maybe death is like falling asleep. This world is a wasteland where nothing can grow. I used to have strength, but I ran out of hope. I know it's my fault that I'm here all alone. This world is a wasteland. I'm not ready to face it. Don't go saying goodbye. There's a beauty in changes, and I wanna try. This world.
Making this super cozy tonight by making myself a cinnamon roll, oat milk, cappuccino, decaf coffee. It is, after all, 8 p.m, 8:30 p.m. I have an early morning for pistol training, and I'm going to get my first ever sports massage tomorrow as well. So I'm really excited about that. But yeah, I thought I'd get all cozy. I've got my One Piece hoodie on as well. This was a pre-order from Udi. It's just come out. My first time properly wearing it. So how does it look? How do you like it? It's so cozy, except I'm really starting to heat up now, like really, really quickly. I am 198 pages into Discovery by J.A.J. Minton, and this has been so good so far. So this one, it is like a little bit of an amalgamation of different things and different characters as well. So it's not exactly the most straightforward to describe. So let me just take off my little annotation pens and let's go through this, shall we? So the first thing I love is that this is set in 1992, for one, because that was the year I was born. Not only is this the year I was born, but it is actually set around my birth. And one of the I'm gonna sound so dumb. In one of the Entracte chapters, because this is, split into acts, and that's why I've used it for this prompt for Our Fantasy Bingo. In Entracte 1, I will find out how to pronounce that. It is the week of May 5th, which is a Tuesday. Actually, I'm surprised that that's a week of May 5th, 1992, and it's a Tuesday. And the main reason I know May 5th, 1992 is a Tuesday is because I was born on May 7th, 1992, which was a Thursday. So I am a Thursday child. But we have one of the news article things there actually being published on May 7th, 1992, the day I was born. The day I was born. So that's just like really just one random thing that I just wanted to point out. I feel like that was fate. I feel like that was destiny. I love saying my birthday in things, but the fact that it was actually the day I was actually born. it blows my mind. I love the fact that this does start off with pretty much like different voices of different characters. It really makes you feel like you have to get used to this kind of writing style. And it's great because it does kind of prepare you for what's to come. And so the first chapter is from the perspective of the monster in the bottom of the ocean. So that's essentially what this story is about. There is an expedition to find a missing submarine, and they discover this incredible thing at the bottom of the ocean, which honestly does trigger my fear of oceans, like deep ocean. Honestly, it terrifies me so much. It actually scares me more than space, because we haven't discovered everything that's in those oceans. This thing, this creature that's at the bottom of the ocean in Discovery, it could be real. It could absolutely 100% be real. And that's what scares me. But yeah, the Polaris was lost to the sea, and there have been multiple expeditions to try and find the wreck of the Polaris. And it also reminds me of like the Titanic. It's weird for me to say, but the Titanic is one of my specialist subjects. I freaking love anything to do with the Titanic, and I love discovering more about it, and I love, researching the deep dives that go to the wreck and everything surrounding it. It's just like absolutely fascinating to me. And so anything to do with like shipwrecks or trying to discover something in the ocean, it does fascinate me as much as the deep ocean does terrify me. Like seeing the Titanic, for instance, like a wreck on the bottom of the ocean floor where it shouldn't be. Anything that's sunken, anything that lives underwater, it unnerves me for some reason. And it's the same with like what they discover in this story too. It just feels like it shouldn't exist, it shouldn't be there. And so that really does get under my skin. And this is still fantasy. I feel like, because this is described more as like cosmic horror, and I haven't really read a whole lot of cosmic horror, honestly. And I know this is maybe like Lovecraftian. I've never read Lovecraft, so I couldn't really say for sure exactly like what it kind of, is inspired by or what it kind of emanates, because yeah, I would like to read a Lovecraft book at some point. I do own The Mountains of Madness, I think it's called. But no, I do love the fact that we have these different perspectives, because we get such an array of different point of views, an array of emotions as well. Like each of the characters are going through different responses to what has been discovered, or even just like the mystery surrounding it, because no one really knows what the hell is going on. So there's like a lot of like theorizing. There's a lot of kind of wondering, is this, an alien thing? Is this good? Is this bad? Like, what will happen when it wakes? And things like that. So there's a lot of like dread that you can really feel through the narrative. And it feels like that's exactly what we would be like in real life. If something like this was discovered at the bottom of the ocean, how exactly would we respond? Would we just like live in constant fear of it because it's there? Like, should it really be there? Just so many questions go through your head. But there is like this washed up TV show host called Manny, and we have like this videotape that is of like the expedition, of what they find. And once the news breaks, it just like goes worldwide. And I love seeing the repercussions of that. I love seeing how as a society they respond to it. So one of the point of view characters, at least in like the first act, is Nessa. And I love it when Nessa goes into like this office thing, and it's like, I shouldn't really be focusing on this, really. But like, there's a book called Grin and Bear It, The History of Homosexual Porn from Madame Butterfly to Chi-Chi LaRue, unabridged. And like, there's like some random things that, is mentioned in this that just made me laugh. There were a few times when I think the humor like really got me, but just like don't Google that, because I did. I was like, oh, I would actually like to read this. And then I Googled it and I had regrets. So yeah, I'm loving all the speculation, because even, like Nessa, she's talking to Mr. Winfield, like Howard. And yeah, they're just kind of like, well, is Griff alive? Is Griff dead? Griff was like a journalist who was like trying to like break the story and stuff, I believe. There've been like expeditions and things to find out what happened to like Manny and the Polaris and the Rosie. Like so many different like things have got into it. And then the next chapter goes into a different format itself. It feels like very epistolary, because it's like a diary. And yeah, I'm just like utterly fascinated by what they're slowly figuring out, what they're slowly like saying about this thing at the bottom of the ocean. And I always love it when we go back to the thing in the ocean. There have been like a lot of moments when we don't really, discuss it, and the narrative is kind of taking like a different turn. But I do love it when we come back to it. I love it when they're talking about like the boogeyman living in an underwater citadel, calling out to be freed. Get too close though, it will wreak havoc on your mind, turn you against those you love, and destroy you in the process. And all of this is kind of like, is this like urban legend Is this an urban legend? Is this real? It's really captured my imagination by keeping it vague so far. Again, like we have no idea what's going on. What's happening too is like multiple things, I think, especially with the passion, the chase for the truth, and almost like the thrill of it, almost like the sensationalization of it as well. They want to get this like story out, even if it means there will be like mass hysteria, and they have no idea what it is or anything like that, but they're still, you know, wanting to, you know, break the story. And some of it is like so gross. Like even one of the characters says, this shit is gross. And yeah, I would agree. There's like a whole section about some kind of disease. Oh yeah, I love it. Which chapter is this? Chapter 5. I love it when they have like a proper full-on, more like detailed looking in at what's at the bottom of the ocean. I'm loving that. Like also about the structures, the architecture, the map of the sea floor, the map of the underwater sea, everything. It's beautifully written. It's so fascinating. Yeah, this made me laugh. Manny is like going a little bit, you know, insane because he's discovered something. And a crewman calmly walked into the frame and punched Manny in the face. The crewman said, I told you we speak English, prick. I don't know. Yeah, there's just like times when, you know, it's really made me laugh. Did you ever watch Cloverfield? It's given me like a little bit of that, but like the thing is at the bottom of the ocean and it's asleep. It's not like rampaging around New York or anything like that, but it feels almost like that. That kind of situation genuinely terrifies me. The idea that something we don't know coming to destroy us. But even scarier is the idea that, you know, we put our lives in the hands of people in like government, or, you know, the people who are supposed to know more about the world than we do, whether it's like scientists or like, I don't know, scientists, you know, like all those people, and even they can't really come up with answers. And, you know, it feels very helpless. It feels very desolate. And I can feel that it's really effective. So yeah, last thing I want to say about it tonight, I do really want to finish this tomorrow. I have a movie night with my patrons tomorrow for the new Frankenstein film. But I liked Meeting Tony. The second part of this, or Act 2, follows Tony. And yeah, I've been really enjoying, and I finished Act 2 as well. I'm now on Untracked 2. I mean, I could just like Google it and see how to bloody pronounce it. But I did love Tony's section because I really did show more of the fallout after this discovery and how people are reacting to it. And even just like the general vibes of like how people are living now also feels a little different. Time slipped an hour fell away, 60 minutes cascaded into a void. Great writing there as well. It feels a bit like a fever dream. But even then it just feels like time is different, you know, like time is different, the world is different. As soon as you find something out like that, like can you ever go back to normal? And even the words that the president says as well does not comfort me. It doesn't comfort. I don't think anything is comforting me right now, which is why I needed an Udi and a decaf coffee to comfort me after the major sections I've been reading. I will say as well, because this is so intricately linked and the different sections feel rather different to the next, it really does feel like something that you really do have to pay attention to. And I could easily get lost if I was even just zoning out for just a moment. So bear that in mind going into it if you decide to pick this up, is that I feel like it really does command your attention. Like you really do need to focus so that you can get all of the different things that it's doing. It is stitching some different genres together. And, you know, I am getting the fantasy, I'm getting the sci-fi, I'm getting the horror and all of these different chapters and acts and unattractive things. It is coming together really well, and I do think patience is key. So yeah, I've got, well, it looks like I'm about halfway through. So yeah, I've got so much time tomorrow to finish this off. Hopefully I'm not in too much agony after the sports massage. I genuinely cannot freaking wait. Why am I sitting on the floor? Why am I sitting on the floor? Like, this is why I need the sports massage, because I do not treat my body right. I'm literally sitting on the floor right now. The camera's on the chair. I've literally given the thing that humans are supposed to sit on to the technology.
Oh, are you stolen my one-piece Udi as well? Tobu has my dressing gown and you have my Udi. That's okay. You can keep it. You can keep it. Oh, oh, scratchy, scratchy. Oh, scratchy, scratchy.
Okay, do we love my Gavin Reads It All books read this year signed thingamabobby on Etsy? I'll leave a link down below if you want to get one. But I love the fact that they have these like wooden numbers so I can change them. So I totally forgot that Wild Seed was my 200th book of the year. And now I have finished Discovery, which means for the first time on camera, this is history being made right here, I can change the total number of books read this year. Honestly, it's the little things. It's the little things. I might, you know, put it up on the wall, maybe like here or something. I don't know, like that's kind of a little bit tight, but I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure it out, but it only came yesterday and I freaking love it. So it is 10 a.m. This is my second cup of coffee today. And I did finish Discovery yesterday before my Frankenstein movie night. The Frankenstein movie was okay. I much prefer the book. But yeah, I think the atmosphere of the film was fantastic. The cinematography was amazing. The acting was impeccable. But yeah, I just kind of wasn't really taken by the whole story of the film. I felt it was a little bit disjointed. It strayed a little bit too much from the source material, in my opinion. But it was still really, really good. And I can say without a shadow of a doubt, I definitely prefer reading Discovery over watching the new Frankenstein movie. I'm sorry if that's a controversial opinion on the new Frankenstein film. If you're a fan, I'm happy for you. But yeah, this was honestly so good to finish yesterday. I'm giving it a solid 4-star rating. I just can't believe that this is their first book. I can't believe that they are debut authors. I'm like, surely they've written something before this. I do think this is probably like the most ambitious book that I've read this year, mainly because of all of the different like styles that it was stitching together and like the stories that were being told, because it wasn't like linear by any means. And it's made me really want to branch out into that cosmic horror and that sci-fi so that I can fully appreciate this a lot more than I already do. Because yeah, I feel like if I understand some of the genre kind of trademarks, hallmarks a little bit more, then yeah, I might end up, you know, giving this one an even higher rating upon a reread. This just feels like the first of its kind that I have read personally. So I'm like, okay, this is the goalpost of this genre for me. This is where like all the other stories on this genre will be needing to strive towards being and strive to surpass in order for it to get a good rating. So it's definitely cool to branch out my comfort zone, read something a little bit different. And the fact that this is written by 3 different authors as well, I couldn't tell. Like I really couldn't tell. And mainly because like there are different genres at play, there are different, you know, sections and stories and people and characters. So any of those could have been written by anyone really. But there was never a weak point in the writing. Florist. I thought it was a delivery. I'm waiting for a couple of broken binding packages and I saw a van pull up, but it says florists, and I doubt they will be delivering my broken binding. But yeah, there was never a weak link in the storytelling. There was never a weak link in the narrative. I do think this was brilliantly written. And again, I'm just so surprised that they haven't published a book before. Like, that's crazy to me. Maybe they have written stories in their own time before this, because it does feel like they're a little bit more seasoned than I was expecting. I would definitely love to read more in the series when they come out. Godspeed to J.A.J. Minton for writing a follow-up to this. I mean, how do you follow it up? But I'll be interested to see how they do that, how they pull it off. But yeah, really, really great. So that is 3 books down in my challenge for this video. So I've decided to read The Hollow Places by Kingfisher next. Yeah, this one is going to be my next read because I really want to listen to an audiobook. I haven't listened to an audiobook in a while. I've been doing a lot of physical reading recently, especially since I did the Twilight vlog recently, and I really had to, you know, analyze that and make notes and write so many things down. So an audiobook experience is just what I need, and I have so much housework to do today. Let me take you around, let me show you, while I still enjoy sipping my delicious coffee. Speaking of the Twilight vlog, that's my Twilight shelf now. Beautiful, beautiful. You were just sitting on that because sometimes I put my camera there because it's the perfect height for me. And yeah, my amazing, which I might just keep it like that for now, my amazing sign. But yeah, what I need to do is I need to sort out some of these books as well. Like I just need to like file some stuff away in this room, which will be like not hard to do at all. But other than that, like and especially since I've got the broken binding books today as well, I'm gonna have to sort that out. But I mean, like I have proper housework to do. Hello, Tobu. What are you doing constantly lying on that all day, every day? Means I never ever get a chance to wear my brand new dressing gown. Like ever. Oh, but you're so cute and I love you. Go downstairs where all the action is happening. Hello, Ash. Hello, Ash. Beautiful man. Are you following me around today, are you? Gonna follow me around? Are you gonna help me with the housework? Gonna help me with the housework, are you? Yes, oh good, good. A lot of stuff I need to do. I need to do my laundry. I have a laundry basket upstairs, absolutely full. Need to do my dishes, because I have a lot of dishes there. They have piled up, haven't they, Ash? They've piled right up. And so I need to do them, try and fit them on there. It's going to be a nightmare. I need to do some like general tidying. I need to sort my recycling out. The living room is a little bit of a mess. A little bit. So I want to tidy up there as well. Maybe do some hoovering. Maybe just general pottering around, I think is much needed. But the F1 qualifying is on tonight at 6 p.m. And what time is it now? I've been filming for a little while. Okay, it's nearly 10:30 now, 10:30 a.m. So the Hollow Places audiobook is about... Look at Ash, he's just constantly following us around. Like, leave us alone. I'm kidding. When I get the audiobook on as well, and I'm not sitting down physically reading, I'll be able to play with Ash. But yeah, the Hollow Places audiobook, I think, is about like 10 hours long. So I have it on BookBeat, and with it being 10 hours long, I can double speed it and listen to it in 5 hours. And that's perfect because, yeah, the qualifying for F1 is on in 7.5 to 8 hours or something like that. So I really want to watch it. So I'll definitely get it done before then. So we're going to blitz the Hollow Places today. Whoa, almost sat in the chair wrong there. I just need to put my coffee down, which I don't want to do. So this one follows Cora, and she goes to her uncle's house, and she ends up finding a bunker that's kind of hidden. And there are some words on the wall. Pray that they are hungry. And through exploring this area, she discovers that there are portals to countless alternate realities. So this will be great for the Impossible Places prompt. So it should definitely cover that, I think. I did look at, some suggestions for the prompt as always, and I believe this one popped up. And this is like the last Evernight edition that I need to read of Take Kingfisher's books. I bought these editions last year. There is House of Good Bones, The Hollow Places, and the Twisted ones. The Twisted ones, The Hollow Places, House of Good Bones. And this will be like the last one I need to read of that because I bought those 3 books last year from Evernight. And I made it my mission to read them all, like not to just buy these beautiful books and just never read them. This is the last one I need to read to finish that set. I'm doing good. I'm doing great this year. I just hope that the audiobook is good. And also, I have my Stitch hoodie on. I've been listening to the Lilo and Stitch soundtrack. Can't Help Falling in Love by the 18s. Oh, I freaking love that song. Love that song so much. Take my hand. Take my whole life too. For I can't help falling in love with you. Doop. Doop. I'll never get bored of that. Yes, I have just finished The Hollow Places, listened to the entire audiobook as I was pottering around, did all of the housework that I needed to do, which was fantastic. I also got my Broken Binding books, as well as an Illumicrate book as well. So I do have Empire of the Dawn by J. Kristoff. This one came as the only Illumicrate version of the series that I have, but very excited to get to that. But also, one of the Broken Binding subscriptions sent me All That We See or Seem by Ken Liu. Brand new. I have seen Ken Liu around, but I've never read a Ken Liu book before, so I'm very excited to get into that one. But the one that I went out of my way to buy was King's Sorrow by Joe Hill. And yeah, this Broken Binding edition is absolutely gorgeous. Nearly 900 pages long. And I read my first Joe Hill book last month. I read Horns for the first time, and I really liked it. So time to branch out and read a little bit more Joe Hill, I think. I also have Nosferatu as well. Maybe that could fit for a future Reddit Fantasy Bingo video. Maybe this will fit for a prompt in the future too. But it's so beautiful and I love seeing it. I've added to my spreadsheet and everything. I was very excited about that. And I am now decked out in my F1 gear because the qualifying is on in an hour and a half. So it is now 4:30 p.m. and I'm wearing my Ferrari outfit. Every single time I watch the F1, I put on my Ferrari outfit because I have to support my Charles Leclerc, but I also love Lewis Hamilton as well. But yeah, so let's talk about The Hollow Places. Unfortunately, I didn't really like it all that much. I found it largely boring, and I was immersing myself in the audiobook. Honestly, I promise. I was really focused on it. I was taking in the words. I was trying to get in the atmosphere as well, but unfortunately, I think this kind of lacked a lot of it. And I have read, so this is partly inspired, or at least it takes some of The Willows, I believe it's called, by Algernon Blackwood, which I did read a few years ago. So I kind of got some of the references, I kind of got some of the things that Take Kingfisher was trying to do in this. But I do feel like, because I almost feel like I'm reading nearly the same kind of characters and story with Take Kingfisher books. I've read quite a few now back to back, and I think spacing them out is probably the best way to do it, because I went from saying, oh, every single Take Kingfisher book I've read I've enjoyed, to now being like, every single one I'm reading, one after the other, seems to be just like the one I read before, and especially with the characters. So the main character, Cora, she genuinely feels a lot like the other main characters I've read in Take Kingfisher's books. There's not really a whole lot differentiating them, other than like their circumstances. And one thing I will say about Take Kingfisher is I love how she explores like familial relationships. So I loved in House of Good Bones, I loved the mother and daughter exploration, like the dynamic there. And I was really excited about the fact that we have an uncle and a niece kind of dynamic in this too. We have, you know, Cora's uncle letting her stay with him as she has like gone through a divorce and she is now on her own. So now she is staying with him and she's helping run this really random and weird museum that the uncle runs. And you know what? She's always been fascinated by it. There are things about it that's definitely pretty creepy. There's like a whole section on taxidermy, and that kind of gets under my skin a little bit. And I was really enjoying the start of this. I was loving the dynamic between the uncle and the niece. And I found it really interesting because it got little bits of history from like the family and with their relationship in general, and I found it very endearing whenever he would call her Carrot, and you could really feel like they, you know, were a family. And I kind of wish that we saw that the entire way through the book. Unfortunately, we do not. So that kind of took me a little bit out. I don't know about Take Kingfisher's main characters because they are starting to feel exactly the same as the other ones. And I can really feel that Take Kingfisher is trying to make them as personable and as quirky as possible. So you will get like random moments where, especially in this book alone, I've counted so many times when Take Kingfisher would break the fourth wall, or she would have the main character break the fourth wall by talking directly to the reader. And you know what? It was cute the first couple of times, but it just got really repetitive and boring. But the thing is though, I feel like every single Take Kingfisher main protagonist has done the exact same thing. Like we just get the same kind of main character. It's starting to get a little bit boring. And I don't know if maybe it is because I've read too many things back to back with Take Kingfisher and they are very similar in that regard. Maybe I need to like branch out more and just like space them out. Maybe Take Kingfisher does have other books where her main characters feel different, and I've just kind of had a little bit of a bad run. Maybe that's why The Hollow Places, The Twisted Ones, and House of Good Bones, maybe that's why they were released as a 3 set by Bethany, because they are the most similar, potentially, like in tone, in character. You know, that's probably my theory now, and I'm running with it. There were too many attempts at like being too like self-aware while also ignoring what's going on. So like one thing that really does like piss me off a little bit now in the overabundance of it is when it's like, oh, you know, people in movies wouldn't do this, or like we're totally acting like horror movie characters right now, and if, you know, we were in a horror movie we would die first. Things like, oh my god, I'm so bored of that now. Genuinely so bored of that. And the amount of times that this happened in this book alone, there were so many references to, oh, imagine if we were in a movie. Imagine if this was a movie. Oh my god, stop. Just stop. Like breaking that fourth wall and just like trying to be, you know, like self-aware, it's just like not working, because okay, like you've mentioned, or if someone did this in a movie, it would be a bad idea, but you're doing it anyway. I'm just like, it gets to a point where it goes from self-aware to just like plain stupidity. But I did like the discovery that they make in this. I did like the exploration of that. I like the idea of the Willows and how that pertains to the story by Algernon Blackwood. It was by Algernon Blackwood, wasn't it? Yeah, I read that a few years ago and I liked it. It was very short. But yeah, I could feel the atmosphere there. But then a lot of this book is just like reflection. A lot of the book is just talking and theorizing. And, you know, I don't feel like even like some of the secondary characters were as engrossing as like the uncle, for instance. And yeah, I just felt like it was just getting a little bit too tedious. A little less conversation, a little more action, I would like to say. And like, it does kind of pick up at the end there as they're being a lot more proactive. But, you know, if I have to hear about them ordering Chinese one more time so that they can talk about things and just be like, oh, that's a great idea. That's a great, oh my God, the amount of times that they've ordered Chinese and said, oh, that's a great idea. That's the best idea you've had all week. Was this edited? Like, and yeah, other than that, I feel like I've probably been like the most negative with this book so far. I would probably give it a 2.5. I'm starting to fall a little bit out of love with Take Kingfisher now. I'm sorry about that. I genuinely feel like it might be a me problem because I've read so many back to back. I will 100% stop reading Take Kingfisher for a while. I would like to go back because there's other Take Kingfisher books that I'm interested in, like Paladin's Grace. I might own another T. Kingfisher book in my home library somewhere, potentially. I'm not sure. This might actually have been the last one I needed to read. Actually, I do have... Oh, did I turn it off? Crap. I turned my MacBook off. Probably because I'm getting prepared for my F1 race, which is still, you know, some time away. But I did log in the new books I got in my book collection spreadsheet. Love me spreadsheet. Oh, actually, that's another thing that was mentioned in this, though, and I do appreciate, was spreadsheets. I love that. So yeah, I can't check. I mean, I could literally just walk into my home library right now and check if I have another T. Kingfisher, but I'm just not going to do that. I'm just going to have to trust me on this. But I do stand by that T. Kingfisher knows how to write family. I do think that is a huge strong point in T. Kingfisher's writing, that she can really write familial relationships very well. And I know I'm starting to repeat myself now because I'm like, what else do I say about this? I'm starting to sound like T. Kingfisher myself. Oh wait, no, hang on. Oh my god, it's not turned off. Why? I clicked it and everything. It's actually not turned off. Interesting. Why did it do that? Maybe the willows have something to do with it. Okay, let me just quickly check, because now it's on my mind. I actually do want to see if I have another T. Kingfisher. I also want to mark this down as read. Oh, I have A Sorceress Comes to Call. That is the last T. Kingfisher book that I need to read, that I own. And then I've read all of the T. Kingfisher books that I own. And bear in mind, I only own 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I own 6 T. Kingfisher books in total. 1 unread. But yeah, glad it's done. Nothing more to say, I'm sorry. I will not be starting The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin today. I mean, qualifying for F1 should probably hopefully finish by about 8 p.m. I could potentially read some tonight. It's very short though. I feel like I could read all of this tomorrow. Well, it's like over 300 pages, but the font is quite big. Got some good sized margins as well. Very excited to sit down and plow through this. Oh my god. I looked down there because I thought one of my cats was like looking at me, but it's just my slippers. Yeah, The Left Hand of Darkness. I've read the Wizard of Earthsea series apart from the last one, Tahanu. So I would like to give those a reread at some point. In this one, we have 2 strangers. They are making this long journey across some ice, which, you know, beautifully illustrated on the cover. And one of them's an outcast, but one of them is running from persecution. It says, as they journey for over 800 miles across the harshest, most inhospitable landscape, they discover the true meaning of friendship and of love. Sounds really sweet. I don't really know, like, is there like a plot to it other than them just walking 800 miles on ice? Is it just them chatting? Is it just them 2 chatting shit? Yeah, what they have in common is curiosity about others and themselves, an almost unshakable belief that the world can be a better place. Okay, I'm very interested to see what kind of themes we explore in this. How can we make this world a better place? I really would love to know. I really would love to know.
Does everyone like my new bookshelf decoration? Fits in perfectly. You look so good on the shelf, Baba. Yes, you do. You look so good. Who was that winking? Were you winking there? I love you. I love you. kitty cat. I'm going on your way home today. And I see a kitty cat. Hello. Hello, you are so beautiful. Hiya. Hiya. Oh, I could just eat you up. Oh, I could just eat you up. You're so cute. You're so cute. Bye-bye. See you again. So I actually don't fancy reading this today, right now, anyway. I did start it last night. I'm like 2 chapters in. But I am fancying editing. I'm in an editing mood today. So I've made myself a coffee. Was at the gym this morning. Just came out the shower, dried my hair. And I have tandoori chicken thingamabobby from the gym as well, ready to eat. I'm just waiting for it to cool. But yeah, I have this vlog that I could get on with, like, doing some editing, because I have 2 moods sometimes. Sometimes I'm in an editing mood, sometimes I'm in a reading mood, and today I'm just in an editing mood, apparently. But I was watching Jade sprints last night, and I could have just couch potatoed because I watched the F1 qualifying yesterday, and I could have just spent the rest of, that night doing absolutely nothing, just like watching videos on YouTube or maybe playing a game. But I just wasn't in the mood to do like anything but read. So I ended up watching some of Jade's sprints. I did get 2 chapters read. I'm about to start chapter 3, which is called The Mad King. So I'm 27 pages in. And I'm not 100% sure how I feel about this just yet. I do think this is one that is a bit of a grander concept. So I really do feel like I need to lock in and be present. But we do follow a character who has gone to this place called Winter, and it is very wintry. The atmosphere is fantastic, and I think they're trying to get some kind of alliance going, and they're getting embroiled in some, different kind of political things, and there's a talk about, different things. Like, there was a discussion on patriotism. Patriotism? I'm obviously too dumb to read this. Like, I'm not the kind of person who would typically read something like this, but I really do want to be that person who reads stuff like this. But there is a lot of place names that I'm not really 100% like. Just listen to this bit of dialogue. If I've understood you, your ecumen is devoted essentially to the general interest of mankind. Now, for instance, the Agata have experience in subordinating local interest to a general interest, while Cowhide has almost none. In the commensals of Augerin are mostly sane men, if unintelligent, while the king of Cowhide is not only insane, but rather stupid. We're talking about, like, I'm not 100% sure what we're talking about. There's so many different things being thrown at me here. Different places, different characters, different, factions and people in power. It's a little bit overwhelming, I'm not gonna lie. And that was 19 pages in as well. 19 pages. But yeah, lots of discussions and conversations so far. And I'm hoping that I will get into this so that it won't just go over my head, which is why I do feel like maybe I'm in more of a mood to edit right now, because I don't know if I'm ready to tackle this just yet. I do love, like, the place inside the blizzard. I love the description of it. Gathering asks, what place is this? And Horde answers, this is the place inside the blizzard. We who kill ourselves dwell here. Here you and I shall keep our vow. And that is deeply fascinating, but I need to look in. But I did love how short some of the chapters were there. Keeps it going nice and quickly. So it is a bit of a gloomy, miserable day today, and it honestly is the perfect ambience and atmosphere to read. So who knows though, maybe I might get a lot of editing done, and the F1 race today is on at 5 p.m, which is in about 4.5 hours. And who knows, maybe after the F1, I might actually want to do some reading, some like late night reading. Potentially. I would love to finish this today, honestly. I would love to get it finished today, but I have a feeling I'm going to roll this over into tomorrow, which is absolutely fine to do. There is no rush. I mean, there is a rush in the back of my mind. I'm like, we need to keep to a schedule, Gav. This is your job. This is BookTube. You have videos you want to get done. But, like, I'm not trying to push myself. I'm not trying to rush myself. I'm trying to pace myself. So let's do some editing. I am not watching this anymore. What the hell? Oh my god.
Obviously lost a tyre like a polo down the racetrack. Leclerc's pulled over. We'll have to have another.
Oh my god. I hate it. I'm not watching anymore. I'm not watching anymore. Well, my favourite Charles Leclerc got knocked out of the race literally in lap 5 or something. So he's out. I'm not watching the rest of the race. It means I have plenty of time to read The Left Hand of Darkness. And I'll be able to finish that tonight. I guess silver linings. I'm so mad. I am so angry. Oh my god. We were in the top 3. The top 3. We could have had a third week podium for Charlotte Clare. I'm so angry. I'm so angry. Right, I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read. It'll probably be the only thing that calms me down right now. I'm so angry. I'm so fucking angry. It's still sad boy hours over here. I mean, I've calmed down a bit. I finished The Left Hand of Darkness, and by not watching the rest of the F1 race, it did mean that I could finish this pretty much sooner than I expected. And I've made myself another late night decaf to also help with my nerves. But yeah, still sad boy hours, but I am feeling better. So, you know, you win some, you lose some. That is just the delusion of a Ferrari fan, which, speaking of, we had a double DNF in the race. Lewis Hamilton also did not finish. But I did finish The Left Hand of Darkness. See what I did there? And I like this. It's not something that I would typically gravitate towards in the future either. And I was wondering actually, because when I read you the synopsis of this, when I started, I was like, when is this actually going to happen? And it does get there. It does actually finally happen. But, you know, the story itself is kind of a little bit more than what it's presented as in the summary. On top of that as well, the topics, the things that we talk about, some of it does feel a little bit outdated when we come to like gender roles and gender exploration, sexuality and things like that. Like some of that is played into this, but I do love the plot where, you know, we have our main character, Genly. He is going from place to place. He's kind of learning a little bit more about like the culture of each place as well. And we hear a little bit more of like the politics of the place as well. And all of those things are quite fascinating. Not typically what I'm into with my sci-fis or my fantasy. This is definitely more like political sci-fi, I would say, with the added adventure element that we do get into it. I love the idea of like the time jumps as well. You know, we have a discussion with the Mad King in chapter 3 about it. And I feel like that really did open up a lot of like the imagination of this that goes behind this story. I do think Ursula Gwynne, she does have such a vivid imagination herself, and she presents it in such a good way, a very technical way. But yeah, as I said, like not 100% my kind of thing. But I did quite like some of the characters. I got a little bit emotional by the end as well. There were some things that happened to the characters that I was a little bit sad by. But I love the exploration of gender. I love the exploration of that gender expression and the importance of having those multiple genders and how they can each play a part, a role in society. And sometimes the gender is like taken away completely. So I do like that. A little bit big brain for me at the minute. And yeah, as I said, some of this did feel a little bit outdated. Was this written in like the 60s and 70s? So I'm not like penalizing it for that. They would have had maybe like some different outdated views that obviously wouldn't wash today. So I do like to take into account the context of the time and the time it was written. So I did appreciate the more positive things that we got. But yeah, very interested to find a little bit more about like, the religions of places, the cultures, the ideals and things. So no, it was good. It was very good. I'll give this a 3-star. It's again like not really typically my kind of thing, but I appreciate it for what it is. And I did like a lot of the adventure elements to it. And yeah, I couldn't give it anything less than a 3-star because I do think it was written well. I can really appreciate the craft that went into this. And I think by having this as like a first person narrative, I think it also kind of helped to make me understand the world a little bit better and to understand the characters themselves, especially the main character. I have nothing really else to say. I think I'm just, you know, yeah, I'm just sad. Like, I'm just sad. And again, like some of the parts of the ending was quite sad, but like, I mean, like, I'm just sad in general. I will get over it. I promise I'll get over it. I just need a little bit of time to mourn my losses and not take it out on books. Honestly, I do feel like maybe I feel like I'm ending on a bit of a bum note. I do apologize. Like, we were doing so well. We were doing so freaking well. But you know what? That's what journeys are. You can't really predict them. You can't predict the trajectory. Another good thing that was explored in this book. Anyway, I'm going to put this down. My very final book that I need to read for episode 2 to complete line 2 of the Our Fantasy Bingo board. Now that does mean I have unlocked line 3 of the Our Fantasy Bingo board. In just looking at the line, there are a couple that I'm excited for, but like parents and epistolary, those 2 prompts, I'm not really I don't know if I'm going to love those two. But you know what? I don't want to kind of go into episode 3, which will hopefully be coming by the end of the year, or at least the start of 2026. I shouldn't go into it negatively. I should be more positive about this. But then we also have published in 2025, so that's pretty cool. Author of color as well, which is pretty awesome. And small press or self-published. So, like, I mean, I could have I could have done a couple of the books that I read in this episode for the next episode. But yeah, I have no idea what I want to pick for those challenges. If anyone has any recommendations for those prompts, please do leave them down below in which prompt they would fulfill. I don't really know anything off the top of my head that I would like to read in the next episode, but part of the fun of this challenge is coming up with what I'm going to read for the prompts. So yeah, I'm very excited to see what I end up picking. It could be anything. So that is episode 2 of our fantasy bingo done. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to leave this video a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave all the comments down below. Let me know what you thought of the video. Let me know if you would have picked something else for the prompts for this video as well. I would love to know what you would have chosen. Or if you have done our fantasy bingo and you finished the second line, let me know what you ended up reading for those prompts. Tell me absolutely everything down in the comments. And give a huge thank you to my patrons for supporting my channel. If you like to join my Patreon, then the link is in the description box. But yeah, I hope I will see you in the next video. Bye.